You were the king of the tower, hiding in the dark and working hard there for 50 straight years. To stay low-key, you even wore a flimsy 1-cent mask to cover your face. After failing and waking up 20 years later inside the body of a nobody, you find yourself in a new life. And the best part? The locals treat you like a god. So let's rewind to the day the 8th floor crashed to see how this all started. Chaos broke loose in the quiet 8th floor. Heavy footsteps slammed against the ground, moving as fast as the frantic pounding of a terrified heart. Soldiers marched in lockstep behind Kazuki. Kazuki stops, holds up his hand to call the squad over, and with a serious look says, "We're going to do the impossible today by taking out the 8th floor guardian, so don't hold back even though we're working together. Unless we scrub this place down, the 9th floor will remain just a ghost story forever." In a flash, the soldiers broke apart and cleared a way through. Kazuki squints his eyes as the long-awaited guest finally arrives. Kazuki spots the Blue Eyes Guild crew coming toward him. At the front of the group walks a man, keeping his face hidden behind that famous mask. He flashes his trademark grin, walks over to chat with Subaru, who politely says sorry for keeping them waiting. But Kazuki shakes his hand with a smirk and jokes that he was the first to arrive, causing Subaru to raise an eyebrow and mention the martial arts squad joining the party. Only for Kazuki to scoff that they're just there for the main event, Narukami Subaru, and that they will just pick up whatever scraps he leaves behind. So Subaru grips his sword hilt and drops a heavy hint that he has something for them right there. He drops a glowing object into Kazuki's hand, and suddenly a status window appears, revealing the gift of the Archangel's blessing. Kazuki is puzzled by Subaru's explanation that holding onto this item is just a backup plan, so Subaru insists he needs it more and begs him to take it while Kazuki hesitates. Subaru swerves in front of you, asking, "Besides, do you really think you'll make it back to Blue Eyes after this fight?" Subaru says, "You can give it back to me then," and right then, a wave of sadness washes over Kazuki. Subaru pats his shoulder to comfort him and says, "If you don't want to give it back, keep it forever. It's your choice." But suddenly a loud boom blasts through the air, snapping both their heads toward the sound. Subaru warns that the danger is arriving early, leaving Kazuki shaken as the monster reveals itself before expected. Just before the historic clash, everyone gathers as the 8th floor guardian Kazuki screams the order to brace for impact. The poison dragon Hydra bursts out, its writhing heads striking at the squad. Subaru looked up, studied the monster with a heavy sigh, and muttered, "What a hideous freak." Dark energy wraps around Subaru's hand, and a strange thing makes my skin crawl. The system pings like a flash of lightning that shoots straight through Subaru's whole body. His voice drops to a freezing, cold whisper, telling you that today is the day you won't live to see tomorrow. The poison dragon Hydra glares sideways at Subaru. Suddenly, the heads all shout together as they build a huge green ball of destruction. Kazuki panics and screams orders as a breath attack rages, sending everyone fleeing except Subaru, who doesn't need to move at all. Kazuki stares in shock at the monsters tearing through the air, while the Hydra unleashes a roar so loud it cracks the sky, forcing Subaru to snap his sword from its sheath in a heartbeat. Subaru finally swipes at the empty air, sending a flood of dark power crashing out. Two massive forces, one good and one evil, crash right into each other. Kazuki stared at Uruk, shaking his head and muttering to Subaru, "You really never change, do you?" Chino ignored all the hype and just called Subaru a beast with legit training, while Seeger rubbed his neck in frustration for being too slow to land the first hit. Vina looks up and asks what Subaru, speaking in riddles, handed Kazuki earlier, but you'll find out soon enough. He scans the room, and just as everyone stands ready, the air feels charged with anticipation. "We're going to take out this giant lizard and clear floor 8 right now." So the whole squad rushes in to attack the monster, while Kazuki stays back alone. He watches with no care as they stand together in perfect unity. Suddenly, a whisper from behind says, "Just as planned," and hidden soldiers creep out of the shadows to get into place while Kazuki turns around with a cold smile and says, "Perfect. Let's get this started." "The trap worked," the shadowy figure whispered. "Good luck out there, kid." As Kazuki turned to face the chaos with a heart of ice, watching it all without a single flicker of feeling. She looked so small and weak against the fierce storm, her hair flying wildly around her like a banner of battle. Then the whole squad charged at the beast like one unit, but the poisonous dragon woke up instantly, its red eyes blazing as it bit down and spat out a huge stream of lightning. That scary, toothy nightmare didn't make Vina flinch at all. She dove straight into the danger zone while Saigon shouted over the madness. "Just a quick warning before you lose it." It would have been nice right then as she glanced back to see a blade flash in the light, and Rena just scoffed. He snapped back, refusing to admit that she was outshining him in style. Some folks are cool, but others are just asking for trouble. So keep your eyes on the danger behind you. Isaac grinned as he dove into the battle, shouting at Tusha, "Want to bet on who can deal more damage?" As a red light filled the arena and the beast roared, they attacked from every side, causing Tusha to grunt and challenge his opponent to a fight where the loser buys dinner. So he flashed a confident smirk and struck with a powerful sword blow. As the giant beast crashed down, Isaac shouted, "My bad," Chino, while flaring her power to reply, "Don't worry about me. Just keep the attacks coming," and Chino summoned a massive wall to protect them, promising to take the hits so they could focus on dealing damage. That's when Kazuki emerged from the shadows behind her, speaking in a deadly whisper. "Chino, you really think you can stop this?" Before she could even blink, the blow hit her with zero chance of defense. Kazuki spoke with a chilling coldness, proving that arrogance always comes at a price. Subaru felt the change at once, spun around, and heard a sharp gasp slice through the air. Subaru's body hit the ground with a thud, but seeing the enemy standing there with a cold, mocking grin turned Subaru's blood to ice and sparked a rage so fierce his veins seemed ready to burst. Kazuki laughed at him, but Subaru stared right at the reward and refused to look away. Right then, the poison dragon was flying right at him. Subaru's voice broke with raw betrayal, asking Kazuki why. The world went black, but the system screen flickered to life, whispering that the tower has picked you for the climb and that your training starts right now. A global ping buzzed for every player with the tower's first message, leaving everyone wondering if it was a challenge or a twisted blessing. Since even now we don't know who sent it or why, and the true purpose stays a complete mystery while we just followed orders. We had no choice but to obey the order, so we started the hard work and climbed toward a peak that no one had ever seen. On Earth Morum, Lucan stands with warriors from many worlds, each carrying their own heavy load as they keep climbing. The sky wasn't blue anymore, just a choking haze of dust and smoke over the frozen ground littered with the dead poison dragon monsters, marking a battle won at the terrible cost of the heroes who had died right there. Subaru gasped for air as his lungs burned in the freezing cold on the 8th floor's boss room, where a red dragon hydra waited, and his voice trembled with grief and regret, reminding everyone that while they finally defeated the unkillable beast, they had paid a terrible price. Subaru gazed at his fallen squad, choking back tears as he whispered, "I never gave you permission to die." His brothers were gone, so he screamed in agony and shouted, "You idiots!" The alarm screamed in a non-stop loop. The status had turned to poison, and the system could no longer heal itself. With fatigue soaring to 94, Subaru desperately wished he could turn back the clock, only to be mocked by a system that warned him that hitting 100 meant certain death. The legendary Subaru Narukami, known as the Thunder King, stands as an unstoppable force of nature. He looked at the traitor and whispered, "Why did you do this?" Then, seeing the same old smirk, Subaru shouted, "Answer me, Kazuki Kyojo." Kazuki stood up and leaned right in front of him, saying, "It's been 10 years, Subaru. I've been chasing this moment for 10 long years. Everyone needs to understand. This was the only way I could beat you. If I didn't create a distraction, your precious blue eyes would have seen right through me. And since your gifts tortured me so much, I chose the world over you." He forced the words out, and that was all there was to it. It's sad the show had to end this way, but at least I get to watch the very last episode. Alright, I guess I don't need to bring this back since those blue eyes will just fade away with you anyway. So don't look so sad because even though you're gone, you'll still be remembered as a hero. Not that you'll be around to check if anyone remembers you. Subaru's voice dropped to a growl until the bitter end. But you only hear what you want to hear, so even as he clawed at the dirt, fighting to keep it together, the rest of the story stayed silent. Subaru stared into the nightmare before him, his mind racing as his eyes sharpened in the realization that this fight wasn't over, even though he felt ready to quit, because he wouldn't go down without putting up a real struggle. Kazuki spun his head around so fast his eyes went wide with pure fear. "No way," he screamed, just as the system screen flashed with a glitch showing the legendary rank of Aeolus. For Subaru's surged forward with a fierce roar, proving they're still alive and ready to keep you guessing, while the broken system confirms they've got plenty of power left. He quickly did the math. 4 bullets left, and exactly 4 blue-eyed members still alive. He let loose a fury of destruction, hoping his team could find a way to escape alive. Kazuki shouted commands until his veins bulged, ordering everyone to move and wipe out the enemies while a lackey signaled the attack to begin on the massive battlefield dominated by a giant magical fan. Blood trickled down Subaru's chin as he screamed, "Oh no, you don't," while raising a hand that leaked raw energy, leaving ULT trapped in a critical alert with Emmy. The Thunder King was so tired that his body was barely holding on at 95%. It didn't matter, because Subaru pulled the trigger and unleashed his full power, activating his special ability. The Thunder King came down, and Subaru stood his ground while the enemy sneered at him for never knowing what to quit. His body began to fall apart as exhaustion struck the number 96. His voice froze like ice, and while I didn't know what Kyojo paid you for selling out, I hope it was worth your lives, because from this moment on, no one leaves this circle until I say so. The enemy squad paused with beads of sweat on their faces, then decided to go for broke and rushed forward with blades high, ready to strike the killing blow. Subaru spun his weapon tight, thinking that on any other day these clowns would be no match for him, but if Kazuki jumped in, he was done for. Feeding the cattle is wearing me out, and my fatigue is the real killer, he thought as his mind raced, knowing he couldn't keep going like this. For just a split second, you weren't paying attention, and, suddenly, someone stabbed you from behind. Subaru winced and coughed up a spray of blood. With his energy nearly gone, Subaru spun around to fight back just as he teetered on the edge of exhaustion, the battlefield around him a chaotic mess of blood and deep wounds. A dim light fell on the bloody mess, and his legs turned heavy like lead as his sword clattered to the floor. Kazuki went crazy with joy, shouting that we'd finally done it and killed Subaru Narukami. Suddenly, Subaru appeared right in front of him, hissing, "Who did you kill?" before a massive burst of lightning struck the man, frying him instantly and popping his eyes out of his head. As the smoke faded, Subaru saw his own body fall, still holding the blade that had pierced his gut. His legs gave out, and he hit the floor hard. He's lying still, and someone screamed that it might finally be over. Kazuki stayed back behind his small army to watch the monster. Subaru can't believe he got out of that situation so easily. When the alarm hits 99, it screams danger, but once it reaches 100, death is right there waiting. Subaru's mind wandered until Kazuki shouted that he should know even as his legs failed him, and suddenly Subaru bellowed that an attack was incoming with eyes full of pure vengeance, declaring that he would win. Was he preparing my funeral speech? The Archangel's blessing is my way out. Kazuki's jaw dropped, and his eyes went wide with terror, because Subaru's sword was already flying toward him before he could even blink, which felt completely impossible. Kazuki gasped, shouting that I'd win while I crashed like roadkill, and since my final flash definitely hit its mark, I'm left wondering if this is what dying feels like, and if I'm stuck in this limbo forever. This is pure torture, until a strange funk fills the air and makes you wonder if you've finally solved the mystery. Clang! A metal lid slammed onto the pavement. Subaru sat huddled inside a garbage-filled dumpster, surrounded by trash. He gazed around in a total daze, wondering if this really was hell. Suddenly, a hologram appeared in the air, introducing itself as Subaru Hosoi from Earth. He froze in shock, staring at Subaru Hosoi's ridiculous stats and realizing that his name had nothing to do with his face, while that place called Earth was nothing but a burning mess. As people walked by, they whispered about the strange man hanging out, joking that he looked too perfect, yet they quickly realized Subaru Narukami was truly unique, wondering aloud if his power was only half as strong as it had been 20 years ago. Subaru Narukami died 20 years ago, yet here he is crawling out of a dumpster, so confused he wonders if reality itself is glitching. Bam! He face plants onto the hard concrete, and sharp pain shoots through him. Subaru stares at the item with deep doubt, snatches up the player gear on instinct, and immediately begins searching for the blue eye as his fingers fly across the interface. Something went wrong with the blue zone system, but why does it feel like a dark secret is hiding behind it? The blue zone is alive and well, carrying forward the spirit of Subaru, Narukami, and the blue eye, and today Guildmaster Kyojo is online as we dominate the next tournament. 20 years have passed, yet Subaru stares in shock at the man on the screen, realizing with horror that his old rival, Kazuki, is still alive and calling out to him about quitting the blue eye. Subaru frowned, caught off guard as Kazuki suddenly asked him to tell the others about his proposal, a secret Subaru only pretended to understand while his voice dropped with a warning that they'd soon find out the truth. Don't worry, because even after I'm gone, I'll always stay by your side as your shadow. Then, jump forward a few years to see Kazuki returning with a new guild and the silly nickname we used to call him, Blue Zone. That was the shadow he spoke of. Yet he remained stuck on the 9th floor with no progress in 20 years, until suddenly Subaru freezes as a bulletin board erupts with news of a memorial service for the Subaru Narukami Shrine, a place where memories haven't faded after all this time, causing him to jolt and realize, my memorial hall, only for him to stand stunned before the entrance of the Subaru Narukami Shrine and admit that this building is far more impressive than he expected, with a mask displayed center stage like a holy relic. The crowd stands frozen and laser-focused on the screen. Subaru stands there completely lost in a moment, remembering me as he shuffles forward with heavy steps and eyes darting around in confusion. A loud voice suddenly cuts through his headache, revealing that he is the blueprint for everyone, the legendary hero of the Blue-Eyed Guild, the creator of an unbeatable legend, the one who stands closest to the tower's peak, and Subaru Narukami. My whole team, and I will remember him for the rest of our lives. Subaru's eyes went wide with horror, because you've got to be kidding. Kazuki's voice rings out, reminding us that we built this hall just to keep his memory alive. Subaru's veins bulge on his neck like angry rivers, and Kazuki's voice keeps talking. The Narukami and the Blue Eye are gone, but the Blue Zone is still here. Subaru squeezes his fist in silent rage, shouting in his mind to shut up because living up to his father's twisted expectations feels like another death sentence. The sermon drags on while Narukami and the Blue Eye are gone forever, leaving Subaru glaring with a promise to Kazuki. Just you wait. The fake eyes on the screen burned into our minds, a nightmare we'll never forget. His mind fights back at that story, but I'm starting fresh to write a new one. Subaru looks up at the sky, plotting his next move, and vows never to let him pull that kind of crap again. I'm living this second life with no room for waste. Just as he stumbles, something tightens around his ankle, and he instinctively catches the weak figure, shaking him awake only to freeze when the face staring back at him is the one he's been wearing. Two people burst in to check on Minato, assuring him it was just a minor crash and that the Subaru is spinning out of control while the other guys are also involved. Subaru spins around in a panic, wondering what in the world is going on. He rubs his eyes hard and fast, trying to clear the blur from his vision. Her eyes went wide with sheer terror as she wondered what terrible nightmare she was trapped in. Everyone around him wears the face of his past self, leaving him confused and wondering what is happening. Kazuki's voice chills as he says, "It's a shame things went this far, but don't cry because even in death you'll be remembered as a hero." Suddenly, Subaru's eyes harden with pure hatred as he realizes he's been drawn into the hunter's trap. Kyojo Subaru marches angrily through the busy crowd. Straight ahead lies his own funeral portrait drowning in fresh water, a trick to steal the glory of the blue-eyed one. But suddenly his gaze shifts from hate to shock. Those white chrysanthemums are shining with a blue glow. Subaru's eyes roll back, showing the scene inside. The crowd pushes him hard, shouting annoyed warnings to back off, but Subaru ignores them like a zombie and walks straight toward his own funeral portrait until his hand touches the glowing light. Subaru whispered in shock, "Is that really you?" as the camera showed a figure standing on a rooftop overlooking the city. Sigurd broke the quiet to say they survived another year, but the woman behind him shot back that if they were any later, they'd be fighting off blue eyes right now. But is this small ritual truly needed? Just dropping a few chrysanthemums each anniversary should be enough. He softly took off his hat and answered gently, knowing anything could happen next. She scoffed that Subaru might notice the flowers we left behind. Sigurd asked if he truly thought the kid was still alive, but Rina snapped that he hadn't seen a body himself, warning that while they search for Subaru, Kazuki will find them way faster. Look, if Subaru were really alive, he wouldn't just sit there watching everything burn for 20 years, you dummy. As the golden hour lit up the sky, birds began to circle above. The camera shifts to Subaru huddled in the corner, weeping like a lost child. His body went still, while Subaru's mind raced with the shocking truth that she was truly alive. He squeezed the flower until it broke, then whispered Sigurd's name. Subaru sits in his tiny, empty apartment, a clear sign of his poverty, while his desperate online search for blue eyes comes up with nothing at all. Subaru threw his laptop on a bed, but he knows for sure that Segura is still out there. She is alive, but she keeps running away from Kyojo. So, was that really the cause of all this chaos? Knowing that guy, he'd never let anyone get a good night's sleep if they knew the truth. I'm not sure if Sigurd truly survived that blast alone, because all four of us were thrown by the explosion. As long as Kyojo is still breathing and causing trouble, sending a message now is like walking straight into a trap. Plus, I'm powerless right now, so forcing it would just make me a target. And as he stared at the mask and flower on the table, he told himself, first things first, while Subaru clenched his hand tight, thinking he needed to get his strength back before gripping the sword as Hoso's memories revealed that the player tutorial begins in 2 days. He ran his hand along the cold steel, his mind trapped in a desperate hope that he might just make it through this. Subaru's eyes turned hard with determination, promising that as long as they drew breath, they would find each other again, right before the scene smashed to the exam hall lobby. Huga stood with his arms crossed, looking like the strictest teacher around. The candidate had just finished the hard work, his body so tired it was dripping with sweat. Huga stepped forward with a voice as cold as ice, and while you passed, the terrified guy stammered in panic, staring at the screen as he begged to go to the next stage. System alert. Do you want to challenge the next level? The guy screamed, but Huga barked back. Keep it down. My head hurts. Just as the guy vanished, he begged, I actually made it. Huga groaned in frustration, muttering that the kid barely survived the trial and called him a weakling, then noted that only Isaac Renhard's son cleared level 20 while the rest of the group looked doomed, before his eyes suddenly snapped to the screen. Someone marched in, dragging a sword that scraped loudly across the floor. Huga warned, that's a heavy name to carry, kid, but Subaru just stood there with a cold face, ready to face whatever came next. A notification pops up, telling you that 2 goblins have appeared and you must take them down. Huga opened his mouth to speak and call for the test to begin, but before he could finish, Subaru shot forward like a blur. Huga blinked in confusion, wondering if something had just zipped by him. Before Subaru could even understand what was happening, the monsters were already gone. He smirked inside, realizing after 2 days of testing that this cracked vessel was exactly what he needed, so he instantly accepted the next challenge and decided to speedrun his way through it. Huga gasped in shock and looked down to find the monster's head lying right at his feet. He stared at the screen in horror, wondering what on earth was going on. Huga froze in place, his eyes widening as he realized Subaru wasn't just swinging wildly. He's planning 3 moves ahead of his enemies, not just 2. Subaru's grip tightened on the blade, his muscles popping with tension, so Hugo stood there stunned, realizing this kid wasn't just skilled, but was likely the legendary Subaru Narukami reborn. His sword moved so fast, it looked like a blur, cutting through the monsters with perfect accuracy. Subaru's eyes turned icy cold as he scanned the mess. A system alert flashed that stage 49 was done, and the tired hero grinned without even breaking a sweat as he challenged the final boss to come and try to beat him. The world shook violently, and the ground beneath Subaru's feet split apart, revealing glowing white cracks in the dirt. Suddenly, a huge hand popped up from the ground. Huga screamed, Hey, idiot, stop. You're not the real Narukami, so if you want to live, back off right now. The beast then roared so loudly it shook the whole arena, announcing, Enter the Goblin King, just as the system flashed red to show that a sacrifice was detected at stage 49 and the Goblin King was furious. Huga screamed to bail out before it's too late, warning that fighting the Goblin King isn't bravery, but a suicide mission where skill can't make up for the gap between them. Yet Subaru didn't even blink with pure determination, thinking that with his current stats, he's basically just hitting him with a wet noodle. He clutched his sword hilt tightly, but his voice still cut through the noise as he shouted, I refuse, and then he did the unthinkable by flinging his sword onto the ground. Huga grabbed his head in panic, wondering how he dropped his weapon and if he's gone crazy, because he knew this kid was weird from the start, but now the Goblin King is charging straight at him like a runaway freight train. Thwack! An arrow slammed into the beast's leg. The king's face twisted in shock as Subaru crouched low, clutching a handful of poison arrows in surprise. The Goblin King stopped dead, staring in shock as if the very world around him had suddenly glitched. Subaru smirked and said, Let's make a bet. Will you drop me first, or will I turn you into a pincushion? Without a single moment's pause, Subaru sprinted straight ahead. The Goblin King roared so loud it shook the ground, and he demanded, Come on, answer me. The monster lunged with huge legs that tore up the ground to close the gap, but as a giant axe swung down to split him in half, Subaru moved faster and dodged the clash. He slipped through the attack like smoke, his mind flashing back to the tough training he had endured. Subaru threw a burst of darts that all missed the mark, and in that moment, he remembered a girl shaking her head and telling him, That's not how you throw, Rena. Anything can become a weapon. So she stepped forward to show him how to use it. As she wound up, she explained that finding the center of gravity makes the move deadly, and then she snapped. She hit the bullseye right in the center. He shook off the daydream and focused on Rena's advice, striking the monster's throat with a snap, and then pummeling its body with a dozen more hits, all while Subaru grinned. Power comes from spinning fast and being exact, never hesitating, which is the true style of the arena. And as Hugo watched in shock from the sidelines, he realized that goblin corpses and loot stay there until the trial ends, letting him turn the game's own rules against it, proving that he had completely underestimated him. It wasn't just about swords. He was learning to use bullets and turn loot into ammo, which Hugo whispered was the sign of a genius kid. The Goblin King looked like a hedgehog, which didn't even capture his true genius. The monster fell down completely worn out. Subaru quietly took back his sword and glanced down at the fallen king without any personal anger. Land a devastating slash as a critical hit to finish it all. The system beeped instantly, announcing that you had defeated the Goblin King and finally cleared the 5th level of the tutorial. It's just a tutorial, so why are we throwing a raid boss into the training montage? Level up, earn reputation, grab achievement points, unlock the tutorial shop, and snatch this limited time offer before it's gone. With your current balance of 2,425 points, here's what you can get. He kept getting blindsided, but I didn't even know the shop was there, so open it now. With prices ranging from 5 to 200, I'll be so loaded with change that I'll end up with a mountain of leftovers. He scrolled down and froze, realizing he could buy the nameless demon sword for 1,000 points. A failed masterpiece by the legendary blacksmith Kinder that drained life and sanity to boost cutting power and stats, standing as a powerful artifact with no name, just raw force. That's crazy, but it's a weapon that actually eats my life points. Facing the temple-blessed sword of Miranda, Subaru paused to weigh his choice between the raw, self-destructive power of the demon blade and the safer stamina boost offered by this holy weapon. He's torn between two strong choices and has to decide how to spend his points wisely. Then the idea strikes him like a lightning bolt. He can still swap his strategy, and the system opens up to let him spend 1,400 achievement points to buy more skill. Subaru's eyes go wide as he unlocks the powerful Rank S Level 1 ability, which instantly cancels all side effects and can be upgraded for 10,000 C. My jaw dropped in total shock, as I'd never seen such a perk before, but pairing it with the demon sword just wouldn't work. The system flashes with alerts as you instantly buy the spell that wipes away the sword's curse. Greed costs 1,400 points to buy the blade of the nameless demon, leaving him with 1,000 gone and a devilish grin that proves the purchase was totally worth every penny. He grips the hilt, gives it a test swing, and finds the weight perfect, realizing his skill and the demon sword are a match made in hell. So instead of struggling with this high-risk weapon from day one, he just hacked the system. And as Huga strolls up, he notes it's not a bad pick. Kid, since that skill and the item have crazy synergy, though as a proctor, he's still stumped. I don't know why we picked that exact mix, and honestly, neither do you. Subaru quickly recovers. So, do I need to sketch you a map to show how it happens? Huga's temper flares, and she demands you explain yourself, wondering if that's truly what you want, because she swears manners are long gone. You look fried from the exam, so I'll just let it slide. No big reason, really, but Huga stares him down. My mind is racing with wild thoughts, and I can't believe that snot-nosed kid actually made Proctor do it. He remembers a lanky kid from back in the day who used to be his biggest fan, asking if he could get an autograph. Do you want an autograph? I don't have any to give. Name's Harato, I said, snapping back to reality just as the old man began his rant about how kids today are arrogant gods who hate losing but demand everything handed to them, ignoring our etiquette lessons and calling us dinosaurs while his hair count slowly drops. Subaru cuts him off, and I refuse to answer that, so please keep my test results private while he goes on talking back with only the shallow facts he found online. Huga suddenly grins with a new idea, and though I complain, he insists on training me from scratch since I lack the discipline to teach myself. How about it? Want to join the Knights Guild? Hard pass. Hey, it's rare for a proctor to scout someone personally. Head up to the 2nd floor and turn on the telly. Wait, hold on. Stop right there on the 2nd floor, but Subaru just ghosts him, walking away without a glance, leaving Huga to sign defeat and wonder what a disappointment this really is. Moments later, Subaru crashed down into a brand new area. The noise is deafening on the 2nd floor where fresh deep-sea fish and special jerky from Run Terra wait, while the rookie zone offers fabric from the Martial World and leather jackets from Earth, and I'm back. I've taken a chance that no one else has. Now that I've lived through this once, I'm ready to take on my 2nd playthrough and crush it. I'm leaving to meet the squad and rewrite the nightmare ending we all faced. He found a private training room to sharpen his skills and test his limits, only to be greeted by an old caretaker who asked which floor he was from. But when Subaru said he just arrived, the man directed him to a hub for regulars and pointed a training room one as a joke because it had a straw dummy. Yet Subaru paused and chose room 5 instead. The old man gets cranky, so be honest with him. Don't do it because it wastes money. Stick to the first plan, and even though I appreciate your concern, just give me 30 minutes. He acts like he's the star of a soap opera, and while you don't care, the system pops up to show that he just spent 50 credits and now has only 10,500 left, with a warning that there are no refunds if he quits in a rage. The bigger the number, the tougher the room, and he's spot on. Strolling in with nothing but your clothes on makes you look like a dead giveaway. But he steps in without a second thought, and let's get this grind started. Now is the moment. So Subaru tightens his grip on the sword and gets ready. A flood of crimson light fills the room when the system beeps, and the nameless magic sword finally knows its master. With all your stats temporarily boosted, you pull yourself into the user's body while soaking up their health points and mana points. The first stage of greed tries to catch the bouncing energy from the nameless magic sword. A tiny bit of life and magic heals back, but the blade still rejects greed, and his stamina is fading while exhaustion quickly takes over. Just as we expected, level 1 is far too weak to take this beast down, but wait a moment. The nameless magic sword siphoned all the user's health points away. It's a dangerous bet where getting stronger means taking more damage to your health. As the system digs deeper, the blade turns deadlier, and suddenly a blinding red light erupts as Subaru runs out of stamina, but he hadn't hit his limit. He had planned every move. As the account balance dips by 10,000 credits and the greed skill surges to a new level, Subaru drives his blade deep into the earth, gasping for breath like a man drowning. The system window appeared, revealing that greed had reached rank E, unlocking a secondary skill that lessens the bad effects of your gear, but upgrading will cost 20,000 credits as the system noted that fighting back the sword's shake was only a partial success. The blade eats away at his health, yet the power surging through him grows wilder by the second. Subaru's face turns as hard as steel, his eyes blazing with a deep, bloody red light. He gets ready to unleash his terrifying power and put it to the ultimate test. Back outside, the old gatekeeper is so bored he sighs, thinking he just saw a ghost. I'm not sure if I'm drifting off into a dream or just losing my mind from being so bored. He sees Subaru stumbling out soaked in blood, and the old man rubs his eyes, wondering if that's the kid from room 5, who hasn't even been there 10 minutes yet. Silence. He pokes his head inside, and his jaw literally hits the floor. What kind of natural disaster hit this place? The room is absolutely demolished. The scene shifts to Subaru stretching his stiff body as he wakes up, wondering just how long he had been out. He sat up and thought it over, realizing that if this were just an ordinary curse blade, he would have walked right through that room without a hitch. His body is finally pushing past its limits, and he has managed to link his power with the sword's wild energy. Subaru Hasoi stared at the status window, seeing his Earth-level stats soar with new strength and agility, realizing that the magic sword he once couldn't lift was now something he could wield like a completely different kind of beast. The battle flashes in his mind as he smirks, realizing the perfect match between his greed and the sword might finally unlock a full set bonus. But a warning pops up. His skill is only rank F, a secondary ability that needs 20,000 credits to grow. Subaru stares at his empty screen, wondering how he ended up so broke before a blonde stranger appears out of nowhere to drag him toward a new floor that feels like a painful trip back to his rookie days. Just like a memory popping back, Alexander dropped 1,000 credits, and the donation alert went off to say thank for the generous 1,000 points. Suddenly, the guy dumped a cup of water over his own head, screamed that it stung while thanking everyone, leaving Subaru totally confused and wondering if he's actually crazy. Subaru's eyes squint as suspicion takes hold. He checks his phone to see how people are making money in this PvP world, where 1 out of every 3 players is a streamer, with the top ones earning millions, and he realizes he's actually watching a live stream. As Subaru scrolled and muttered to himself, the puzzle finally clicked. He was broadcasting live to farm donations, revealing the true meta behind that clown's antics. Isaac steps forward and says, "You made it, didn't expect to see you here." But when Subaru sees his face, his body instantly recoils in disgust, showing that they never truly got along. Isaac pushes forward, pleading, "Hey, are you even there? Don't just vanish on me like a ghost. It's like I'm shouting at a blank wall." Subaru isn't just feeling awkward. He's lost in a deep thought. He stammers, "I actually made it here." Surprise, surprise. Isaac crouched low with a voice full of sarcastic laughter. "I never thought a piece of trash like you would pass the tutorial. To be honest, I thought you were already dead, but when the memory hit him, it all came rushing back." Subaru's mind flashes back to the moment he was on his knees begging, wondering, "Isaac, why? Why are you making me feel this way? Stop keeping that grumpy face on, it's driving me crazy. Just hearing your name makes my skin crawl, you useless idiot who can't even follow simple orders and thinks showing off your empty head is a clever advertisement for your orphan status. But all the money you coughed up isn't enough to save you from Isaac's brutal kick to the gut as he sneers at your pathetic state. So shut up, you bastard, because this box right there is your new home. Stay right inside. Or if I catch you wandering outside no matter what, you'll know exactly what kind of hell awaits you," Subaru muttered, his face hardening as he wondered just what kind of idiot would take a beating like that and end up hiding in that box. The guy won't shut up, bragging about how he smashed his old record at stage 20 and even got Proctor Hooga to call him a true son of Reinhardt. "I even snagged a top tier B rank skill as a bonus, and after all that talking, my throat is so dry I might just go grab a drink." He stops, then quickly decides to change his mind. "As I head out, just grab me any coffee on your way back. even if it's cheap slop, because Subaru still hasn't obeyed and Isaac is shaking his head in disbelief. What's got into you lately? You're staring people down and talking back like you've been body swapped with someone else. Subaru stands steady, but I'm down to my last penny with no credits left, so I'm buying my own coffee. As Subaru tries to walk away, Isaac's voice suddenly deepens, and he orders him to sit. But Subaru just keeps going, secretly vowing that unless this annoying fool stops him from his revenge, he won't waste time dealing with his kid's problems. Just then, a hand suddenly grabs Subaru's wrist. Isaac's eyes are red with anger, and he's ready to smash your face in again. Subaru's answer is freezing cold, so let go before you end up dead. Isaac grips tighter, making the air feel heavy with tension. He stares with eyes full of anger, so don't get too confident, Subaru. Subera knows he can't make a scene in front of the crowd, but Isaac bursts out laughing, mistaking his caution for fear and teasing him like old times about being a coward who barely survived the tutorial. Isaac steps right up to Subaru, staring at him like he's trash and sneering. Do you really think you can beat me? I could make you disappear right now, and since you know who my dad is, don't get too cocky. With a mocking cackle, he turns and walks away, adding one final warning. Watch your back, friend. Subaru watches him walk away without caring, and when a system alert flashes, a friend scoffs while two new paths for growth suddenly appear. The holographic guide opens up, leading you on the first quest, the Tower Trials. By sweeping up floors and collecting rewards, players grow in their own way. To join the Tower Trials, you just pay some credits to play in a safe virtual world where dying only costs you your progress, not your real life. You can choose the second path of hunting monsters in the real world for explosive power, but remember that dying there means your story ends forever. The scene shifts to the Orc Nest dungeon, where Subaru sits casually atop a dead beast, proving that while others avoid such danger for safety, he finds the thrill in the carnage. Danger moves like lightning while he grabs a shiny gadget to read the latest breaking news. A masked figure suddenly appears on the screen, freezing Subaru as the live viewer count soars past 80,000, making him think, you have got to be kidding me. The mysterious streamer has everyone buzzing and ready to take on the third floor trials. Subaru's face curls in disgust at the name and mask, wondering how many fame-hungry people will try to steal this identity. A system prompt pops up calling Narukami a sellout for taking 20,000 credits per mission clear. With a fake grin, Narukami Subaru says hello and jokes that he's willing to be a clown if the payment is good, thanking you for the 20,000 creds. Subaru's jaw dropped in shock when they found out they had to do 20 separate tasks just for one mission. Requests pour in nonstop, blowing up notifications like a lonely wallet poker game or safe asset drop missions. With a grin behind his mask, he thanks everyone for their love and promises to tear this dungeon apart for all of you. Narukami Subaru makes a fortune just by flipping on his camera, while the real hero is working himself to the bone fighting monsters and risking his life for nothing but scraps. He quickly checked his wobbly balance, feeling the sting of his pathetic 50 credits while that other guy was clearly rolling in cash. Subaru pressed his eyes close to the screen, watching the hustle carefully. He stands up, takes a deep breath, and suddenly sharpens his focus as excitement surges through him, ready for one final performance. A giant foot crashes down, the ground shakes, and a crowd of scary nightmares jumps out with sharp teeth, growling for blood. A warning bell rings as General Orkai has stepped into the chat. Subaru won't flinch, but I'm packing something much nastier this time, since I can't use my poison needles. With his eyes blazing and a tight schedule demanding his finish, the nameless magic sword's drain on his blood just fueled his power and silenced its recoil as his second level of mastery took hold. With the system pinging, the user's HP back up, and their sanity restored, it's finally time to move. Boom! He kicks the beast in the face, skips past the trash mobs, and flips into the air to rain destruction on them while they're falling. The boss stands frozen, staring right up at his fate. Subaru lands a punch that sends shockwaves through the arena. The system is clear, and the Whispering Orc dungeon is now just a memory. He stops and thinks, I guess I'll have to put this costume back on. Staring into the mirror, he mutters to himself that now he sees how the game is played, and if he's going to stream, it will be his way with raw skill. He slides the mask into place, since I'm the only real one here, while Subaru spins around and marches out. A notification blares, signaling that Narukami Subaru has finally gone live. The scene shifts to an empty office where nothing but a heavy, ringing silence surrounds Hoka. He sat lost in deep thought, staring so hard it looked like he was seeing right through the world around him. Her jaw clamps down as she snaps. What on earth is going on here? Those idiots are nothing but trash, and a whole squad of 5 couldn't even clean up that mess. So, you've got to be joking. Zhang Hun walks in slowly and carefully, worried that the sensor beep will cost him 1,000 points since he was already on the edge, so he asks who the trouble is this time, and Hoka growls Shibuki while Sion-hyun blinks. Wait, is Shibukichi the real Narukami Subaru, or just another fake? She throws her hands up in confusion. Who knows? She could be a clone, or maybe it's the guy himself. Since the original hasn't shown his face yet, logic says whoever is the strongest must be the real deal. Literally everyone is dressed up as Narukami Subaru just to make a quick buck. So Zhang-hyun shudders and asks if the streaming world is truly dead, while Hoka rolls her eyes, explaining that this platform is the only reason they're eating, but Zhang-hyun lowers his voice to ask why she quit climbing the tower for this dump. Bored? That's exactly why you quit, isn't it? If you were truly free, you'd do anything else. She snaps back as Hun flinches, admitting he only climbed the tower to meet his idol, Narukami Subaru, and once that dream faded, his fire died too. Suddenly, Hoka shouts, "Holy crap, I found a diamond in the rough," while he sighs, "What now?" as the group stares at a strange new person who looks just like their hero. Se-hyun groaned in pain and muttered, "Is this really talent scouting, or just a joke? Why are we even watching this empty stream?" But Hoka's eyes stayed glued to the screen as she whispered, I know. Every time I catch a glimpse of that mask, I can't help but hope it's him." And just like that, 1,000 credits disappeared. Zhang-hyun crashed to the floor, begging for forgiveness, while the system flooded the screen with notices starting the next trial. You need to smash through the first dungeon and get the loot out. Subaru thinks that while the second floor run isn't too hard, the feeling of being watched adds some pressure, right when a dungeon master suddenly asks, "Which floor are you on?" A random user pushes forward, and the stream erupts with chat messages mocking him for being a first-timer just as a hideous beast lunges at Subaru, only for him to snap and snatch the monster right by its ugly mug. He hurls the object far out into the distance. The system pinged that the one-eyed bat had been defeated, earning 1 point. Subaru stops and mutters, "Is there a problem?" while the system announces the first trial. Clear the rookie dungeon, grab your loot, and earn points for every enemy you defeat. The chat races by while the bros' reflexes shatter as people start pouring out from the second floor. I catch them now and then, but they always throw in the towel as soon as their videos get 0 views. Don't be too greedy. Just wait for a party to take you away. Subaru speaks up, staying cool and collected to say that while he likes money, he appreciates the advice but won't go along with that plan. He flashes a grin, but I'd rather run alone, leaving the confused chat behind as I go it solo. Did you look into this at all, buddy? He's done for, and honestly, rookies these days can't handle it. As Subaru Narukami's name alone pulls the audience deeper into the story, a sudden salamander slithers out right at him. His hand shoots out to grip his sword hilt. In a heartbeat, he wipes it away, thinking it was too simple, but I'm just getting started to see just how far I can push this. The system updates to show the mud monster is defeated and awards 2 achievement points. But just as the comments start pouring in about what that really was, a swarm of one-eyed bats suddenly swarms him. He zips across the room at a blur, so fast, it looks like he's moving in slow motion. Nothing touched him for a moment, leaving us to wonder if that glitch was just a sudden, confusing glitch in reality. The system beeps instantly, marking the one-eyed bat and 2 mud monsters as defeated while awarding achievement points for each victory. Subaru speaks to the stream, explaining that listening to the audio tells you exactly where enemies are coming from and how many there are, but the chat quickly shuts him down for sounding like a rookie before he admits they already know the basics and decides to just share his thoughts anyway. Comments start appearing, and normal players simply can't do that. It all comes down to raw skill, but trying to chase fame with a Subaru Narukami name is a bit much. Subaru ponders the situation, realizing he still needs to pile up more achievement points before he can go ahead with the extraction. The chat replied, asking if you've been winging it this whole time, but real men move in silence. With 0 research, Subaru walks straight into a beatdown, then suddenly freezes in the cavern as he tilts his head to see a huge swarm of one-eyed bats clinging to the ceiling. One pupil opens wide and glows red. Then another joins in until the whole room is filled with awakening red eyes. Look at that chat spam. Just like I said, he's totally done for, so see you when he respawns. A system alert pops up for user Maloney, announcing a new quest to wipe out a group for a reward of 100 reputation points. Subaru stood there lost in thought, carefully planning his next move. The chat room went wild, and I had to wonder if this was just a savage trap waiting to spring. Subaru finally spoke up to share that he's been streaming on UNA and thanked everyone for the free 100 reputation points. A fist crashes down on the desk, turning the knuckles bone white. Se-hyun screams in panic, wondering how he got stuck on the 6th floor when he was just cruising along and begging for a refund before realizing his own recklessness was the very cause. Hookie stares glued to her glowing phone screen, while Zeong Hyun tilts his head and asks what she's watching before her voice turns serious to warn that something isn't right, causing him to panic and promise to pay her back if she ever sees him gamble again, only for her to cut him off and say that's not the real problem. Her voice shakes as she whispers Narukami Subaru's name, and Zhang Hun looks on in confusion, wondering if she's still stuck watching that stream. Suddenly, his face fell as he looked down, and he knew there was no way out. The comments poured in with shock, with one user asking if that guy on floor 2 is really a rookie before laughing at the bats now facing defeat, while another named Zhang Hein wondered out loud just how many he had soloed. The one-eyed bats swarmed him like maniacs, but just like that, Subaru's blade cut through the air and sent them all falling with zero effort. The chat scrolled past, while someone shouted that the new guy's advice was nothing but obvious common sense, leaving the experienced player feeling foolish for being scolded by a beginner. Subaru sighed and muttered that talking was hard, then noticed a new message reminding him to claim his reputation points, and he blinked in surprise before thinking, "Oh, right, I totally forgot that." Subaru tapped his fingers frantically to grab the points while the chat room roasted him, leaving him scratching his head in real life and wondering how he could possibly handle this chaos. Another comment popped up, hinting that despite his incredible talent, this guy has clearly never tried streaming before. Click the accept button at the top of your chat window to start the mission. The mission was done. Subaru earned 100 reputation points from Maloney's stream, and Subaru answered right away to say thank you. He pushed deeper into the dungeon, knowing the next room had to be the last one. The system flashed his stats, 150 points and 118 achievements. All at once, a sharp scream tore through the air and rang out from outside the building. Hasuki gasped with wide, excited eyes, stuttering that it was bad, while Seong Hein gritted his teeth and covered his ears, telling her the only one in trouble was her, until she whipped her head around to ask what well she had seen before Zeong Hyun grimaced and retorted that she was overreacting because it was just the second floor. Hookie jumped to his feet with bright eyes, admitting he was overreacting, while he panicked and waved his hands to say he was sorry. Her face turned bright red with excitement as Subaru Narukami from Earth, wondered if this was destiny. Could she be the reincarnation of Subaru Narukami, living out that classic Ice Guy story she'd seen in comics? Seong Hyun scowled and muttered to himself, noting that the girl went completely feral whenever Narukami was mentioned. Hookie kept talking on and on until I felt so dizzy that I nearly closed my eyes, but Se-hun flinched at the thought, and though I looked shocked and asked why, Zhang Hun just cut in to say that wasn't the real reason. "You're actually worried about scouting him, aren't you?" Hookie shouted in anger and argued back, claiming that despite his flashy moments, he's just a rookie and a lone wolf streamer. But she cut him off instantly, while Seong Hun sighed in defeat, warning that telling the section chief would get them chewed out again, making Hookie fume since she was just betting on him a moment ago, and now she's so serious. She puffed out her cheeks in frustration and muttered, "Just wait and see." Hookie stared right at Subaru with fierce intensity, and suddenly the ground beneath the boy started to shake violently. He pressed his hand against the wall, knowing it marked the end of the dungeon. The huge doors groaned and slowly swung open. Subaru stood firm with total confidence, and there sat the warwolf, sleeping soundly until you, Seeger, arrived and sent the chat into chaos, because just seeing that beast makes people panic, yet secretly, I've beaten that guy 8 times and thought he was glitching out before the system finally confirmed you were accepted. Passing through the gate lets you keep going on the challenge, Subaru thought, realizing the warwolf isn't a hunting monster, but a gatekeeper testing player strength to see if you're worthy to conquer the rookie dungeon and move forward as he slowly turned his eyes to glance at the screen. Subaru's face went blank with shock, as if someone had just dropped a bombshell. 3,000 reputation points. As the chat scrolled, another rude person appeared, laughing that he probably isn't going to donate while the budget got cut, and reminding everyone that this isn't a monster to kill. The war werewolf's pitch-black eyes slowly opened. A long, dark scar cut across its fur right above the eye. The system quickly called out Warwolf Seeger, the guardian of the second floor. After taking a long, heavy breath, the player asked, "A player, huh?" Subaru didn't hesitate. He raised his sword instantly, and Seeger praised him for his skill, noting that even as he shifted his blade, Subaru's breathing and gaze never wavered. Subaru stared blankly as the wolf insisted that Subaru had planned a perfect, single strike to counter the enemy's moves. But Subaru just shrugged and admitted he hadn't been thinking at all, prompting a grumble from Seeger and a nervous laugh from Tiger before Subaru realized that fighting is really just about locking eyes and sending a clear message. Especially when you're swarmed by a pack of one-eyed bats where wasting time on precision aim is a total mistake. When those bats strike, they smash into you with their heads, so you must use their large group against them to find a way to escape. The system sent a ping, and the warwolf answered by granting the quest. The wolf's eyes go wide with shock, and the beast lets out a grunt all by itself. Subaru's voice drops to absolute zero as he asks if you truly came here all by yourself, then notes your eyes while a wolf from the war snarls at your nose, calling you entertaining and smelling a mighty warrior on you. Chat went wild because the great warrior now smells amazing, which is funny since he said you smelled like trash and even a dead goblin just 5 minutes ago. So Subaru's glare sharpens to remind the Wolf Clan warriors that they aren't just smelling sweat. The wolf senses your true spirit, speaks up, and declares that you have what it takes to pass. The test was over, so they told him to leave. The chat scrolls by too quickly, making me wonder if this NPC has suddenly turned against discrimination or if this new behavior is just a strange game mechanic. Subaru scratches his head, thinking, even in my last run, this never happened. Hate to break it to you, but I'm here for you, while the wolf tilts its massive head and replies, me? Not the loot door behind me, to which Subaru nods and says, yep, somebody put a hit on you, causing the wolf to look up and realize, of course, only a great warrior soul would take that contract. While far away in a sun-drenched downtown office, Hasuki and CEO Hune are sweating bullets and tapping their desks in a furious rhythm, wondering what Titan Entertainment Department head John Taylor is demanding from the streamer and what the viewer count is. Gong Hun forces a pained smile for about 20 seconds before Hookie suddenly interrupts with a sharp, urgent no. She beamed like she just won the lottery, but he thought it was over after 30 years and told himself to shut up. John snatched his glasses off with a furious glare, shouting, are you guys pulling my leg? You think I don't see you wasting company time gambling on nothing but finding me a nobody with 20 viewers? As Hookie's gaze drops, John loses his temper and shouts that nobody cares, questioning why she can't just stream since she's actually talented and would get fans, but when Hookie points to the screen showing the monitor, just hit 40, John grimaces and yells from the dungeon to check if she's even listening. Subaru stands firm while fighting off the war werewolf. The monster lifts a huge clawed arm, its sharp nails sparkling. Subaru's hand tightens on the hilt, clearing his mind until nothing but focus remains. A warning flashes as the nameless demon sword steals your mana, yet every drop of stamina you lose make your stats grow stronger, and the magical boost is now active. Subaru steadies his nerves, hears a system alert, levels up, and finds that the nameless demon sword's bad effects are gone. His pupils glow with a strange, eerie light, and this is the first time I have ever seen this. Thoughts fade away as the warwolf lunges, and I force myself to act exactly as I always do, clashing my blade with its claws and enduring its relentless, frenzied attacks while struggling to stay on my feet. Subaru jumps back and gasps for breath as Guy, like a crashing tank, charges him to force a fatal collision. The wolf stares hard, sizing up a real fighter. The beast moves again, ready to sprint once more. It can speak, but you're not on my level. Subaru grips his sword so tightly that he simply won't let go. The chat goes wild, calling the mercenaries' defensive moves lame and the wolf boss too broken, with stats that feel completely unfair. It might take a few tries, and whoever set this quest is in for a rude awakening, but he's got this down to a fine art even though it's going to be a real grind. Subaru is backed into a corner, panting and thinking, while brain beats brawn and the warwolf grins, saying, you interest me, little warrior. The claws rise high, and now it's time to finish this. A huge arm swings down like a guillotine, bringing all its destructive power. Right at the very last moment, Subaru twists his body exactly as I predicted. You're sending your every move right to them. Slash. Subaru's blade bites deep into the wolf's torso, and it dies. The beast crumples under a shower of blood, but Subaru doesn't stop. He leaps into the air, his blade gripped tight, and effortlessly cuts the warwolf apart with powerful moves. Subaru tucks his sword back at his side with a smooth ease. The warwolf looks up and gasps in awe at such a perfect warrior. The system flashes a warning. Flood and warwolf are down. You reached level 12, gaining 2 points of strength, 1 of agility, and 1 of focus. With magic added to the mix, they earned 500 achievement points. Chat is exploding with wild guesses about whether he froze, died standing up, or if this is his first run. But honestly, this stream is just fire. Subaru's pants flashed a smirk as he hit the ground. The chat scrolls by fast as the solo run ends, with the quest giver, who never thought a kid could pull this off, watching from a crowd of only 56 viewers. A system alert flashed that the mission was done, and I'd earned 3,000 points from the boss he said. So Subaru spoke up to say he'd put them to good use. The system has just updated, and your current reputation stands at 3,150. Current achievement points, 618. The gate creaks open, and Subaru slowly steps into the blinding light. Then he stops cold, feeling a deadly danger rising around him. Chat reacts as something wild erupts, multiplying system panels across Subaru's view. Chat freaks out with 13 choices, and since I only got a system notification, I'm wondering if this new number means you're actually ready to challenge the Thunder trial. The chat pumped him up, but if he doesn't pick Thunder, he'll need a new name. After Subaru pauses and finally speaks, I make my choice. The system flashes a quick message confirming that the Thunder trial has been chosen. Subaru's whole body is wrapped in a mighty electric glow. Hooky sticks her nose to the screen, watching every single move. Suddenly, laughter erupted as Hooky pointed to the screen, thrilled that they'd finally hit 60 viewers and unlocked a crazy 13 options instead of just 2 or 3. John drops his voice to whisper that while killing an undefeated warwolf sounds incredible, the reality is just a rookie streamer on the second floor who still has plenty to learn. Hooky grins with excitement at the thought of Chief wanting to place a bet, leaving him blinking in surprised disbelief. She goes on to say that if he can't catch the Thunder, Xiong Haiyan and I will work for a fixed salary for 5 years. But if he does succeed, you must sign him right away with no arguments. Se-hun starts whining, asking why he's involved and claiming he doesn't even know this guy. John lets out a laugh, wondering if anyone can truly beat the one player who ever mastered Thunder, Subaru Narukami, even if he makes it to the trial. Hooky nods with a grin, saying, "There's no way to know unless we give it a shot, right?" John folds his arms, grumbling that he'll take the bet. Hooky swiftly covers Zhang Hun's mouth, but I do not. The system flashes a warning that the Thunder trial is about to begin. Subaru glares and whispers this is just as a sudden voice shouts, "Watch out," before someone tackles him out of nowhere, causing a boom. A huge blast suddenly explodes from behind. Falcon pants heavily while a giant piece of debris looms behind him, and he yells at the dazed Subaru, "What was that?" "You got a death wish," before a system update orders him to defeat the giant fragment. Subaru is stunned and confused about why this giant creature has appeared, especially since it's the legendary Thunder trial monster that should have spawned normally. Subaru realizes a legendary boss monster was supposed to wait for part 2, but after slaying Rex, he finds this new giant's weak structure and vanishes instantly to think. It's just a big target with no surprises. Falcon rushes over to help since I got in trouble saving you, so run now. Subaru squeezes his sword hilt tighter, ready to finish this quickly before anyone interferes. A warning flashes as the nameless demon sword greedily drinks your blood to make you stronger. You have reached level 2, and the dangerous side effects of the demon's sword have finally vanished. Right now, Subaru refuses to back down even as the giant piece of the world threatens to crush him. He suddenly spreads his legs to get ready for a fight. The fight is fierce as the giant fragment smashes its weapon down with enough power to crush bone. Subaru barely caught itself before crashing. But the beast isn't finished. It charges forward without stopping, and Falcon looks up at the chaos as Subaru drops from the sky to smash the blade straight into the monster's head without even a moment's pause. With a single blow, the giant piece lets out a scream of agony. Subaru's eyes turn black and cold as they stared at you, and your loud noise only made it worse. He tightens his grip on the hilt and vows to stay quiet forever as the monster lifts its head and blood sprays everywhere. Its eyes droop shut. The fights are over, and a system alert flashes. You crush the giant piece, finish stage 4, and the chat is going crazy about it already. The system alarm blares that you have leveled up to 13, gaining 2 extra levels and boosting your strength, speed, health, and magic power by 1 point each. You earn 4,000 achievement points and grabbed a giant's heart and thunderous chat as loot, a generous back pay for stages 1 through 4 after you perfectly cleared the warwolf from stage 1 to 3. Falcon steps right up to Subaru, staring at him with total shock, thinking, yes, that's you. The chat suddenly glows with excitement as someone asks if that's Falcon, joking that everyone would be on high alert and panicking if a monster like that appeared in stage 4. Falcon gasped in shock and asked who you were, but Subaru remained icy calm, staring down with pitch-black eyes to declare, "I'm here to slaughter giants." The scene shifts to a town where no sound exists at all. With almost no one around and only nervous guards patrolling, Subaru sits alone in a quiet room, staring fixedly at the screen. Chat is demanding we show the loot, so Subaru reaches into his inventory to unveil the system alert and reveal whether it's magic tier or just rare. A rare ring carved from a giant's beating heart that boosts your health and makes you heal faster. Subaru ponders the high-value loot, a health boost that he can certainly use. He looks down at the floor, knowing he really needed some armor. A booming alert announces a thunderous, rare armor that grants extra defense, channels lightning power, offers a daily active skill, cancels all bad effects, and still has 3 charges left. The chat went wild about finding the giant's heart early, even though limits make it impossible until floor 5, because that priceless item is meant for the very end of the game. Subaru slams the heavy armor on instantly, and the system lights up with an alert. Noah takes on the quest to master thunder magic for a reward of 5,000 reputation points, and you must give it your all. Subaru nods solemnly and says, "Appreciate it, Noah Murakami." A system alarm blares as Imbin accepts the quest, followed by offering 5,000 points and Mr. Villain joining in with 3,000 for the same mission. Chef Essence signs up for a quest, earning my love and 7,000 reputation points. Subaru steps forward, nods with a grateful smile, and promises to show everyone just how capable he can be. Why is everyone talking about thunder magic like it's the most exciting thing ever? Maybe he is the chosen one, far more important than he even realizes. Suddenly, a voice called out from the hall, inviting you in for a chat at the perfect moment, and you press your ear against the door, guessing that he too must have a quest to complete. Falcon stepped forward, followed by the man standing right next to him, Pellis. Falcon smiles, apologizes for the delay, and introduces himself as the village's knight captain, Sir Pellis. With giant attacks getting worse, we knights stay on guard around the clock in full armor, banning all non-essential travel to keep everyone safe. I never counted on a stranger showing up, especially not right now. Pelia stepped forward, heard your bravery while she was away, and spoke for the whole village to say thank you. Subaru swerves to cut him off, but I don't mind since I did exactly what had to be done. Pellis, you are the face of this village, a brave knight standing against the giants. And since our scouts found the giant chieftain, I am begging you to join our desperate plan to corner it and save our village before you can even be rude to me. Subaru keeps quiet and just looks at Passus, but the chat room goes wild with people begging Pilius not to die and asking if Pellis is actually going to die, while others yell at them to stop ruining the story with spoilers. Subaru winces in silence, knowing from memory that Pellis will turn to dust in the next stage. He slowly raises his hand, looks up with his chin held high, lets a confident smile take over his face, and thinks, "I'm ready. Let's go." Pellis beams with joy and shakes your hand firmly, saying, "Thank you so much." Suddenly the system screams out an alarm and throws you into level 5 survival mode. The whole squad steps together in perfect rhythm while the red sunset fades away. Subaru's eyes were locked on his screen as the viewer count soared and the chat messages blurred together. But just as he couldn't possibly reply, Bellows suddenly froze and held up a hand to stop the chaos. "Hold it!" Falcon's face darkens as he points straight ahead where a massive muscle-bound monster blocks our path. The chief's eyes go wide with shock as the creature slowly turns its head to the side. Suddenly, huge shards appear out of nowhere, flying in with wild, crazy speed. Bellows watches with wide, shaking eyes as a giant hand comes down to crush them, and suddenly everything stops. Death is right there, waiting as the giant shard grows larger and flashes with a creepy, soulless grin, sending everyone running for the mountain base in a frantic scramble to survive. The giants roared with pure rage, and boom. One huge fist smashed a victim straight into the dirt. Screams fill the air as one man lunges forward only to be brought down by his own teammate. The monster raises a hand as the man wails in despair, while Brother Votram Bello stands firm like a human shield, spinning to bark orders that mean one thing: get out of here. His voice booms like thunder, jolting them awake to think of their families and homes, reminding them that their story isn't over and they will rebuild, which makes them scramble away. Bello steps back to guard the line by himself, while I give Falcon's leadership to all of you. He turns his head and bumps right into a shadow, causing Bello to scream, "You two get out of here. Please rebuild the order. Avenge us," while Subaru calmly unsheaths his blade, though he admits, "Actually, that's my line." Subaru walks past him without trying to run, leaving Bellows blinking in total confusion and wondering what he's talking about. Subaru waves him away, shouting that he's blocking her path and that if he stays, they'll both die. The ground beneath him looks like it's about to crack open, so Subaru roars at the intruder, refusing to let anyone run away while he's still here. That's it. Bello sprints away with one final glance as I gather the warriors, but Subaru ignores my plea and stares down the horde, his last shout of thanks fading into the distance. A massive crowd of monsters bursts forth, filling the air with a roar so loud it shakes the ground. Subaru throws himself forward with zero fear, his blade wreathed in a pitch-black aura that screams, "I'm your opponent now," as he slashes deep into the giant's leg, sending the titan teetering toward collapse and drawing the attention of the pack with the sound of its kin screaming. Subaru wipes the sweat from his brow as a glowing window announces he's won, but his crimson eyes flash with anger as he slices down another enemy, grumbling that even a test can't make him feel left behind. While far away, Bellows skids to a halt in the forest, his breath ragged and his heart heavy with guilt as he stares down the path he fled. Back with Subaru, the chat is going absolutely wild. He isn't fighting them on purpose because that's just suicide, but the game is rigged since the score counts on how many warriors survive instead of why he chased the tank away. Subaru catches his breath as his mind races, knowing Bellows was meant to die here, but if he plays it this way, he can save everyone. As Subaru plans his next move, the colossal giants go wild and charge at him with a massive crash. Subaru strikes with a single, deadly blow that ends the fight instantly. You beat the giant and earned 10 achievement points. He spins on his heel and erases another target right before your eyes. You defeated the giant and earned 10 achievement points. After Subaru carefully studies the situation, he realizes that the nameless demon's sword steals his mana, and the stronger his stats get, the faster that mana runs out. Taking them out one by one, as easy as pie, he tightens his grip on the hilt, wondering just how long he can keep the demon sword's power humming inside him. I need to climb up high so I can see the boss from far away. He crawls up the body of the giant he just knocked down to get a better view. The last of the giants stare right at him. Subaru soars through the sky while the monsters below open their hungry mouths, ready to catch him as he falls. One beast opens its huge mouth to grab him from the sky, but Subaru doesn't even swing his sword. He just stomps right on its ugly face. Subaru treats the giant's own face like a ramp for his parkour climb, sparking wild chat as one wrong move means instant defeat, yet he tunes out the noise to lock on his prey with the ease of a master at home, hitting goal level 2 and fully recharging his stamina and mind thanks to his new gear and reduced drain, only for his eyes to suddenly snap wide as he locks onto the boss before he burns out. Suddenly, he sees the monster far away and thinks, "Found you." The monster stares him right in the eyes and lets out a scary, mocking laugh. Subaru doesn't hesitate. He leaps in as the giant twists a huge weapon around to strike. Subaru's mind races while hanging in the air, knowing that if he doesn't drop me in one shot, he'll be finished. The giant lifts its club, looking dead serious. Subaru looks tough and steady on the outside, but inside he's praying for it to work. Snap! The sound cuts through the air, and instantly Subaru is swallowed by a blinding golden light while thunder roars across the battlefield. The giants shrink back, grabbing their heads and covering their eyes as the pain hits them. Screams ripped from their throats. Even the boss drops his weapon to shield his face before glaring up and roaring as human Subaru dives down like a hawk, striking dead center at the monster's skull with his blade, causing the nameless demon sword to greedily drink his mana. His eyes burn red as the sword flashes with deadly light. With a powerful push, the blade plunges deep into the target. The monster's eyes pop wide with shock as blood sprays like a fountain, and the giant stares in disbelief before tipping backward while gravity pulls crash down. The giant titan crashes down, its leader turned to dust while the crowd writhes in pain, and with the windows exploding and the system declaring victory, we've cleared the hardest stage with flying colors. With your stats, jumping, and the chat going crazy over his insane solo boss kill, viewers are left wondering if the game itself just got easier. I can't tell stories about unfair advantages or cheating in games. Subaru is gasping for air with his lungs on fire, which would usually be a cool finishing pose if this were a normal magic attack. But no, the sky turns pitch black while lightning flashes wildly in strobe-like bursts. As the giants shake off their trance and drop their hands, Subaru lifts his sword in horror, realizing that reaching level 2 didn't break the curse on the demon blade. He's wobbling so much he's barely standing, isn't he? Even though he finished his goal, the mobs wouldn't vanish until the timer ran out, and now that trick he used to gain experience is about to hurt him badly. Blood trickles from under his mask as Subaru stares at the towering giants before him, knowing this is a terrible, hopeless situation because his magic is completely gone. All of a sudden, the sky starts to pour rain. Suddenly, a streak of golden lightning tears through the sky and strikes the earth, blinding him with its bright flash. Boom! Subaru gets hit straight on, and the explosion scares the giants back, while in a totally different forest, the sky is bright blue and birds are happily chirping. Golden sunlight slips through the leaves above, touching everything below. Tucked deep within the leaves of the forest stands a cozy treehouse. A girl sits outside, Her eyes locked on something that has caught her attention. She can't take her eyes off the device in her hand. Seeger steps out of the cabin and sees her right away. He walks over and asks what she's doing out here, but she ignores him and tells him the weather is nice and the air feels fresh. Rena keeps her eyes down, so you might as well take a moment to enjoy the moment while it lasts. Sager gazed up at the sky and wondered if it was finally time, so she paused to think that it must be almost a year now. He turns back to her, ready to end it all. She falls quiet. Seeger lets out a helpless sigh and calls you weird for zoning out while talking about the apocalypse. He moves closer to watch her scream, wondering what has you so hooked, and when she hesitates, you realize it's this. Right now, there's a stream of Subarus, and this one is driven by Subaru Murakami. Seeger snaps, and Rena quickly clarifies that he's talking about a Subaru car, not something else. A streamer barely, in his second try, has completely stolen the spotlight, moving with god-tier skill while the live chat goes wild, even as Rena stammers in disbelief at his incredible talent. Then wake up and face the truth. You see it too, don't you? Xena shouted at Tiger, her voice shaking with anger because she believed the tower would have torn Subaru apart long ago, but Tiger stayed calm and confused her, causing her to blush and realize that Subaru was truly gone. Tiger didn't wait to hear the rest, spun around, and shouted, "I'm done," leaving Xena panicking and calling out, "Tiger, wait." She leaped from her chair in a scream, shouting, "How much longer will you stay hidden behind that kid's shadow?" He spun around with a scowl, muttering, "Look who's talking." He tore the gadget from her grip, proving exactly why she was stuck in this mess. Xena tried to argue, but he shoved the screen right in her face to say he was just killing time. Her eyes froze on the screen, and then a scream tore from her throat so loud it shook the blood in her veins. "Huh?" Tiger snatched the device back with a scowl, but the moment his eyes landed on the screen, he froze in shock because the name on the display was his own, Subaru. On screen, the kid stomped so hard the ground cracked, sending a huge shockwave of energy that lit up the whole dungeon. The pressure was so heavy the giants were pinned and couldn't move, and then a warning flashed on the screen. You've quickly learned a powerful new skill, earned 2,000 achievement points, and now face the choice. Keep fighting or head to the next floor. The chat room exploded with wild excitement, as if someone shouted, "What? No way, that's insane." So that's how you unlock it with difficulty scaling that's totally broken. You just clap the giant boss to summon lightning, making Subaru Murakami stay silent. Though even if I told you, Scrubs, you couldn't pull it off while you looked down with thoughts racing. Normally, this power shouldn't even exist here. The system window flashed with specs, revealing an A+ tier skill called Lightning that you fuel with stamina and mana to unleash thunder, and you can make it stronger by collecting lightning shards. Subaru stared at the panel, let out a breath, and realized that by staying alive, the brief pause in the challenge had just saved his life. His vision was flooded by a wall of donation alerts popping up everywhere. Subaru spoke up right away, saying, "Thanks everyone." He checked his stats, reputation points at 20,150, and kept his promise. "Give me the gifts, and I'll give you a show," as the giants shook off their paralysis and charged roaring like beasts from hell. Subaru's eyes sharpened like a blade, and it was time to show you something cool. You spent 20,000 reputation points to push your greed skill up from level 2 to level 3. He thrust his glowing arm forward, letting the raw lightning surge through his body like a warning to anyone foolish enough to get too close. He held his ground with a solid defense while the monsters charged at him like hungry tigers. As they raised their giant fists to crush him, Subaru smirked, gripping his sword with both hands to pour lightning into the nameless blade, his body glowing with a deadly red aura, and he swung it down with all his might just like in the old days. No matter where that blade cut, it split the giants right in two. With no one left to escape, Subaru's final slash wiped everything out, and as the fallen figures hit the ground, the bright light around him started to fade. Subaru gasped for air as his lungs burned, realizing he had miscalculated his strength, while Peleos stumbled toward him in confusion and the approaching group froze in shock at the blood they had seen. His eyes went dark and the world blurred as he struggled to breathe, but then he saw Peleos rushing toward him and thought, "Idiot. Seriously." Peleos reached out, causing Subaru's eyes to snap shut, and the moment he logged out, a device on his desk in the real world began buzzing. 3 people stood in the room with tension thick in the air as Zhang Haiyan looked up with a trembling voice, asking if they really had to go that far, while John threw his hands up and pleaded, "Don't look at me. I gave up trying to understand women years ago." Hookup buried her face in her hands while sitting curled up in her chair, panicking because her face turned bright red and she was sweating bullets, wondering if she sounded too cold and professional, and if he might think it's just a boring business text, wishing she had sent more emojis. The guy crossed his arms and pointed out that this message looked way too professional, like it came from a business or a management agency, while John nodded and admitted he thought he was being treated like a manager instead of stalker. Hookah slammed her hands down, shouting, "Hey, before I'm a manager, I'm just a hardcore fan who can't be blamed for loving it." She suddenly sat up straight and marched toward them with purpose, while boss Asuko placed a hand on her chest and declared with a crystal-clear, commanding voice that this lightning power is something only Subaru Narukami can unlock, making it an exclusive signature ability for him and his squad. Hearing this, CEO Hyan let out a heavy sigh and rubbed his chin with a smirk, realizing I had somehow kept my paycheck safe and definitely earning my spot on his radar. Suddenly, the device in his hand buzzed with a notification, causing Hasuko's eyes to light up instantly as she cried out, "Oh, boss." As CEO Hyun spoke, a sudden worry pricked her heart because it seemed Subaru Narukami had already read the message. But Hasuko froze in shock the moment he stopped talking, leaving everyone hanging on a cliffhanger while he simply stared ahead. As the two women stared in shock, frozen by her rejection, a different scene unfolded in a room piled high, with anime figures where an excited voice shouted, "What?" from a young man sitting in a fancy gaming chair before a huge screen, his eyes wide with hype as he asked the chat, "Shall we start the party?" This top-tier streamer, known for his sharp eyes and deep game knowledge, had already defeated many rivals and built a massive following. He wore a confident smirk on his face, a look that earned him the name Hawkeye. Legend says that when Hawkeye dives into the footage of top players like the speedy newcomer Kurukawa Amon or the earthbound giant Kazuki Kyojuro, his skill sharpened to a razor's edge to uncover exactly what makes these rising stars so strong. And of course, the legendary Subaru Narukami is no exception. No matter what the haters say, the lightning belongs to him, a truth even Hawkeye couldn't hide, making him the one player who stands on a level far above the rest and instantly comes to mind when you think of greatness. Hawkeye slammed the Go Live button, burst into his intro with boundless energy, and shouted, "What's up, guys? It's your boy Hawkeye here. Thanks for tuning in today. Today we're pulling apart the hottest new star, Narukami Subaru, which instantly caused the chat to explode because people realized he wasn't the real original and was just one of many copies with nothing new to show for it. Hawkeye didn't let it bother him and clicked his mouse, telling his chat to keep the good vibes going before anything even started. Hawkeye watched Subaru's battle footage and was stunned into silence, but the chat exploded with disbelief and laughter, while Hawkeye stared at the screen, realizing that no normal player could handle a new skill with such godlike precision. He kept talking about him, amazed that he could guide every drop of power into his blade without wasting a thing, leaving the comment section wild and wondering if it could even be true. "What do you mean? Am I the only one lost here? Oh, I see it now, but I still don't get how the mechanics work. Just one word. God, if this footage is real, that's insane." Hawkeye had to admit it was crazy, relying on pinpoint control and sharp timing that let him avoid every mistake during the raid. And as he leaned in to stare at the creature, he wondered how such a terrifying monster could have slipped past everyone who didn't realize what they were actually looking at. Before the stream ended, he made a promise that this guy is going to be huge and that I'd be watching every comment under Hawkeye's next stream, which is already exploding with talk about whether he's a tank player, if they should team up, and how unique he really is. After a long pause, he decides to stay true to his own path, and in the raw game of control, he might even outshine Narukami at his peak. The screen goes black, then Subaru suddenly jerks awake with wide eyes. Something gnaws at him, keeping his eyes wide open just as the system chimes that stage 6 is almost here, erasing his fatigue stats down to 0. "Do you wish to postpone the challenge?" "Subaru,